just had to kill a spider. It was dangling down in front of my face. I had to clap it. Usually I don't kill bugs, but can't be having spiders in my office crawling on me while I'm trying to work. Anyway, welcome back to another podcast episode. Today's guest is she's one of the most badass ladies I know. She's a certified hypnotist, a Reiki healer, and a trauma-specialized yoga instructor. One of the most badass ladies that I know, none other than my friend Roxanne Nelson. Hello, Roxanne.
Hello,
Welcome.
Infinite Rick.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We have been talking about this for a while, you coming on and speaking, because you have been one of the few people who has very much given me positive praise and feedback on this podcast, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
You're an excellent speaker.
Thank you. And it's funny because we were talking, I was a kid and I used to suffer from separation anxiety and I was always afraid, and we'd have school plays and I have to go on stage and I was never about it. And like now I feel very comfortable in my own skin most days.
What got you there?
I think it's a combination of things. I think one of the most important ones is psychedelics, my experimenting with those, and like because I was always a yes man. If you and I were having a conversation about whatever and I would say one thing and you'd say the other, I would just agree with whatever you were saying. And psychedelics helped me kind of wake up to my own self and be more comfortable in my own skin. So that's kind of what got the ball rolling, just expanding my consciousness. And then I had a job working private events where I would do like photo booths and photography, and I was constantly around strangers. And I would, for me, it's like I have to either if I go to a party or I go somewhere where I don't know anybody, I have to be outgoing and like introduce myself and just kind of make that initial like connection. So it's like
fight
not
beyond it.
Yeah, well, just so it's not awkward for me. Like I'll just be like, hey, what's up? My name's Eric, and I'll just like dap you up, and then like everything's cool. I can like relax. But if I don't, things are weird. When you meet somebody new, you're talking to them, but like you haven't even introduced yourselves yet. It's like weird. Like I don't ever like feeling like that. So it was a combination of things. But I definitely think that the private event job helped a lot because I was constantly every weekend was just around strangers and people who I've never met before.
It's like exposure therapy.
Yeah.
I did that with guns. I do it with jiu-jitsu to battle the fear of like bigger, stronger men.
Yeah.
Not afraid anymore.
Good.
Definitely think I could put you in a headlock and
kick
your ass.
You definitely could.
Wait, can I say ass on your podcast?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
Okay, good, because I'm not going to censor myself.
No, don't. No censoring here.
So that like ripping the Band-Aid off, exposure therapy kind of reminds me of like the time that we met when I was talking about how like men are intimidated by me. And like the first thing you said was like, well, they just don't know how to handle a woman like you. And I was like, oh,
is that what I said?
Who is this guy? Like,
yeah. Well, because you definitely.
Way to bring all the confidence.
Well, you definitely come off as someone who is very confident and very comfortable in themselves, and that can throw women and men off who are not as confident and comfortable within. And I've even witnessed that in my own life where I'm around people who maybe won't be as comfortable, as confident, and they kind of like, they come off towards you as like maybe they're a little short with you, or maybe they're a little reserved. There's something holding them back from like fully just being okay.
Embracing the moment.
Thank you. Embracing the moment. Yeah. And there's something to say about that. But I'll go back to what you were saying, how the day we first met, exposure therapy, because when we first met, we were helping Tom. Shout out to Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Tom's our guru.
We helped Tom test out his cold plunge pool, his cryo pool.
Yes.
And that was quite the exposure therapy where you're climbing into hundreds of gallons of almost freezing cold water.
Yeah, it was 34 degrees.
34 degrees, where there's like ice floating at the top.
Yeah.
And that was like...
And against your feet when you put your feet on the wall.
Right. No, there's no escaping the cold. Like no matter what, it's uncomfortable.
And cold is not something people love.
No,
It's
definitely not
like
at first.
The thing that people are like apprehensive about.
Right. Yeah, but Wim Hof says that cold is what like connects you to your primal like what primal self, would that be a good way to describe it?
Absolutely. But it's also that same like exposure therapy, right? Like you're getting into an uncomfortable place and like, how do I get comfortable here? And that was the thing that like when I locked eyes with you while you were in the tank and you were like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, get comfortable here.
Yeah.
Get in this space. Get out of your head. Get out of your body. Like you are not your body. You are not your mind. You are this moment. Yeah. Be here in this moment with me. And when we locked eyes, you were able to like sink in for another moment.
Yeah. Because that was like the ultimate meditation. Because unless you do that, what you just said is like lock in and be present, you just want to quit. Your mind's that was for me. It was like the first 30 seconds I was worried about all these external things. I was thinking, because the last few times I saw Tom, I got a nosebleed. Just for whatever reason. It was dry in the winter. I'm around Tom, and I saw maybe it was like a subconscious connection. Am I around Tom? Does Tom give me nosebleeds when I'm around him? And then I get in the water, and I'm all wet, and I'm like, is my nose bleeding? Is my nose bleeding? So I was thinking about that. I
remember you saying that.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about just all kinds of things were coming up, and I was just trying to escape that present moment because it's so uncomfortable. You're freezing cold, and thank God for you coming over, and you're like, just be here, be here, be here. And I think because of that, I lasted just a little bit longer. I didn't last super long. I lasted like what? Not a minute, 2 minutes.
I think you did a full 2.
But
yeah,
it's like that ultimate be here now moment.
But I don't know if you remember this. When before I even stepped into the tank, I was like blue eyes at the end of the tank. And Tom was like, my eyes are green.
Nah.
And I was like, whatever, put them at the end of the tank because I knew.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like Lamaze. Like you have to get through that first initial moment. And then once you like bypass the pain receptors, you can be there. But you have to find a focal point. We talk about it in yoga, right? The drishti. When you're standing on one foot or you're doing a certain pose, like find a focal point that's not moving, that's not like challenging you so that you can just stay in that presence.
Yeah. No, I like that. And it was, again, by the way, Roxanne was in that pool for almost 10 minutes, about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hard act to follow.
Well, I had also had experience doing it before.
That is true.
So I think that, right, once you know, like I can get through this certain amount of time, it was a challenge for myself. And honestly, I would not recommend ever doing that length of time again. I still can't feel this finger.
Really?
Not from that plunge. Believe it or not, I did a Wim Hof workshop in March after our plunge with Tom.
Oh, wow.
And I got in for 8 minutes with my girlfriend, Autumn.
Yeah.
She sat on my lap. We were laughing. We were giggling. I put my hands on her legs. So the body warmth and then I guess the cold was like shifting my awareness. And neither one of us can feel the tip of our finger.
Really?
Still.
Just the one finger?
Just the one finger.
That's wild. Huh. Hopefully that comes back.
It's been a few months. I don't think it's coming back.
I think the nerves are
But you know what? It's not black. It hasn't fallen off.
Right. So it's not not frostbite.
Not dead.
Yeah.
It's just I think the nerves are damaged, and that's okay because it's a reminder.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a part of me now. And I have embraced it. Like, this is the finger that taught me that I don't have to challenge myself to do the hardest things.
Right.
Just who am I competing with? Right?
I mean, yourself.
But I had done longer. I had done longer.
Yeah.
And really, what is the benefit beyond getting past that calming breath, right? So when you get in a cold plunge tank and you're doing the Wim Hof practice, you're not using the Wim Hof breathing method when you're in the tank. You're actually supposed to slow your breathing down.
Because you get in and it's like...
Yes.
And then, like you said, the initial 30 seconds is just pain. But if you get past that, you get that one calming deep breath and then just a burst of warmth goes through your body. And then from that point on, it's just the slow breathing. Because I thought it was just, you have to do the Wim Hof breathing and in the tank. But it's that when you came over... You were like, slow down. And then that's when I feel like I could have gone a little longer was because you initially slowed down.
Yeah. And that's the benefit, I think, of doing the Wim Hof, actual workshop or practicing it because you and your brother had come and I was like, all right, are you familiar with Wim Hof? And you're like, yeah, we're cool.
Yeah.
But it's the difference between the breathing outside of the tank and the breathing inside of
Yeah.
the tank that you're not familiar with if you haven't done a workshop.
Yeah.
And that was why I was like, wait, he needs rescuing in this moment. He
Yeah.
needs to know, like, you're not doing that quick breath. It's not going to serve you here.
Thank you for recognizing that.
You did really well. Like, you snapped out of it pretty quick.
I think so. But I was in there like, I got this. I take cold showers. I got this. Completely different
And
animal.
I hate cold showers.
Completely
like, I do
different.
not do it.
But that's the thing. It was like, after doing that, a cold shower was like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Like, not a big deal at all. So I just want to look up the benefits of cold water therapy.
Huh. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I've definitely bypassed some, I think, trauma through the cold water exposure.
Sure.
I think that it taught me, actually, so I had an MRI in March or April.
Yeah.
No, I had an MRI in January. But it was because of the Wim Hof practice that I was able to, like, so I have claustrophobia.
Okay.
It's like one of the things that still brings up my anxiety that I struggle to manage. So
Interesting. Okay. I
want
want to come back to that, but
before I went in, I was like, I'm going to be okay. I have all these practices.
Right.
And then I got in and I was like, oh no,
The MRI
I'm not going to be okay here. And I started panicking, but it was because of the Wim Hof that I was like, wait, I know how to slow my breathing down.
Yeah.
I know how to manage this here.
Yeah.
I can do this.
It's amazing how, as more and more time goes on and I learn more things, whether it be through Joe Dispenza or Wim Hof, so much healing can come from just your breath and
Absolutely.
intentional breath. Aaron sped up the recovery of his torn meniscus surgery just by doing Wim Hof breathing and Joe Dispenza brainwave exercises. And like you saw him today, he's like back to baseline again.
Yeah,
And he
awesome.
said that when he got home from surgery, he was, because that's the thing about, and what kind of bummed me out about our, medical systems is they treat you like a dollar sign a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And especially during COVID, you go to a hospital, you're sick, you need surgery, you're afraid, but he was so alone in this. And especially during COVID, it's very strict and people are walking on eggshells. And Aaron came home very, very frazzled. I guess, frustrated and tired. And he was just frazzled. He just had surgery. He comes home, he goes upstairs and does some Wim Hof breathing. And he says that he felt like a rush of electricity just like go into his leg that had just been previously all cut up. And he felt like this surge of energy go to his leg. And in that moment, he said that he just felt like there was no surgery, there was no pain, there was no nothing. And that just came from breathing and intention.
Yep. My acupuncturist, my first acupuncturist that I worked with after a back injury that I had gotten at work as a dental hygienist, said to me, like, halfway through my treatment, I didn't want to take drugs. I didn't want to take meds. I kept saying to them, like, I'm not interested in, like, putting a Band-Aid on this. I want to heal it. And, she's doing acupuncture, which is helpful and healing. But she's like, you breathe here. Like, try to breathe into your belly.
Right.
And I'm
very
like,
shallow breaths you were having.
Like, what is that going to do? And she's like, when you breathe into your belly, you actually take fuller breaths, right? Like, obviously, your lungs stop at the end of your ribs.
Right.
So you're not breathing into your belly. But when you do that diaphragmatic breathing, it actually helps to increase the, and you can look this up if you want to. It helps to increase, like, the healing process.
Yeah.
And so that intentional breathing, that's something that I give to every single hypnosis client that I see. So I'm a certified hypnotist.
Yes.
And every hypnosis client that I see, I give them a breathing practice, one or the other. Like, okay, well, here's your options. Typically, it's the 4-7-8 breath, extending the exhale over the inhale because it lowers the cortisol release in the body.
Yeah.
And it can be so helpful for all healing.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes I tell people if they have pain, breathe into your pain.
Yep.
Intentionally think about the breath moving into that. I know your breath doesn't go to your knee, but intentionally think about the breath going into your knee. And suddenly they're healed. Suddenly they don't have the same significant pain that they had before that.
Here's something. Aaron has a friend, Kaylee. Sorry if it's Kaylee. I think something close to that. Kaylee.
Kay.
Kay. We'll call her Kay. She has been suffering from some kind of spinal, whether it's a slip disc or something like that, some kind of inflammation in her back, and it's been causing her a lot of pain. And after hearing Aaron speak about his breath work and helping him with his knee, she started to do that and was sending that breath, sending that energy, that intention to her spine. And just within a few days, like, it's completely gone. And she healed herself. Like, it's gone. She didn't take any medicine. She wasn't going to any doctor. She was just breathing and having a pure intention behind it. And here you go. And what Wim Hof has said is that when you do these particular breath work techniques and taking as much oxygen as you can, breathing from your stomach, using your diaphragm, he says your body becomes alkaline. And in that, you're able, because if you sit and you do Wim Hof breathing, at least for me, I'll sit there and you do the breaths, 30 inhales and exhales as deep as you can, as quick as you can, and then afterwards, my entire body is tingling. My hands, my feet, you feel electric, and that's your body being alkaline. And in that, you start to sweat, and that's just you're purging your body of toxins, and they've done studies where they will inject. This is all through Wim Hof. You guys can look this up. They will inject
E. coli, wasn't it?
I think it was they would inject some kind of virus into people, and then they would have them do this breath work, and then they test them, and like whatever they injected is completely gone, or it dies.
And they wouldn't have symptoms for it, right? They took like a group of, I want to say it was 18 people, and they like 12 people were taught the breath work and the other people weren't, and the people who were taught the breath work had 0 symptoms.
Yep.
Because they kept saying to him, like, well, this is just you. You're the only one. And he's like, no, I could train people. Like, I only need a couple hours. I'll train these people, and they're going to be good.
Yeah. Here, let's see.
So there's got to be something to that, right?
Voluntary activation of the sympathetic nervous system and attenuation of the innate immune response in humans. So it activates your immune system, I guess, to just where disease doesn't even have a chance to recreate itself, or it just gets wiped out, because that's the thing. We are so much more powerful than we think. And that's why it really bums me out when people will just, because our thoughts are so powerful. Your thoughts create your reality. And when people will just like reaffirm disease or illness, when this whole COVID thing started, and everybody was really afraid and not really sure what was going on. My dad, we were all standing in the kitchen when I remember, and my dad was like, look, it's happening. We'll all get COVID, and like, that'll be that. And I was like, dude, please don't. I got really defensive. I was like, please don't say that. I was like, do not say that, because that's you have
bringing it in.
You're bringing it in.
I don't want it.
You're inviting it in. So, you know, when people reaffirm their disease or their illness, when it's like, if you just sit down and spend some time doing research, look into Dr. Joe Dispenza, look at Wim Hof, these different practitioners and their methods, you can eliminate disease from your body.
Absolutely.
And
Joe Dispenza, Louise Hay, like there's so many authors out there, Dr. Wayne Dyer, like talk about like your mind having this power over your physical body. I had chronic Lyme disease that was not diagnosed for over a year. My doctor actually sent me to a psychiatrist because he couldn't figure out what was wrong with this 29-year-old girl that was there every 2 weeks with stuff falling apart.
And he's a doctor.
And he's a doctor. That's his job. Yes. He went to medical school, and he was like, this is psychosomatic. Meanwhile, you never tested me for Lyme.
Right.
Shout out, doc. And he sent me to a psychiatrist. And thank God the psychiatrist was Lyme literate. She was aware of it. She had Lyme disease. Okay. And she was like, I think this is a tick-borne illness. And I think you might have an underlying sleep disorder. And I was like, well, my doctor's tested me for everything under the sun. And she was like, he may not have. She wrote me a script for a bunch of different things. I went and got tested. Sure enough, I had Lyme disease. I had 5 blood tests.
Wow.
3 of them came out positive for Lyme. 2 of them came out negative because apparently certain labs test differently. Similar to what's going on with COVID right now, where like somebody definitely has symptoms and they're like, no, you don't have COVID.
You're good.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But so, like viral tests are not always perfect.
Yeah.
Parasitic, bacterial tests, not always perfect, right? The medical community is a science.
Yeah.
We're learning more things each day.
Right.
But historically, we've had evidence of people being able to heal themselves, right? So in that Lyme disease, I took all the antibiotics, I did all the things that they told me to do, and then I started following this medical medium on Instagram and started drinking celery juice. I started taking antioxidants. I started like doing things that were better for my body. Practicing yoga, right? I had this like gimp shoulder that was not working from the injury at work. Practicing yoga, but really gently, right? Like being soft with my body, meeting it where it was instead of forcing it, right? So that's like, doctors are meant to like, okay, well, if we, and I'm sure so many doctors have told people like, you know, change your diet, change your sleep pattern, change this, change that, right? That'll help heal you. But people don't listen. People want a quick fix.
Yeah.
So now they're just so used to prescribing pills, and there's so many other ways that we can heal our body.
Yeah.
So I healed my body through drinking celery juice, through taking yoga, through doing breath work, through doing meditation. And I know people who had the same type of Lyme that I had, who had chronic Lyme, who it was in them for a while before they got diagnosed, and they're still sick. I'm not sick anymore. I don't have that. The injury is still there. I know my muscle is still torn, but it doesn't trigger as easily. And even when it does, I know what to go to, right? Right to my breath work. Oh, got to send some breath there. Got to heal it. There's so many people out there that have more information. And that's not to say that the medical community is not helpful, right?
Right.
We need them in emergency situations. You get in a car accident, you sever a limb, somebody's got to come help you, right? I do not want...
Breathwork's not going to heal a bullet wound.
No, and I don't want to get in a cold plunge to like stop my bleeding.
Right.
I don't want somebody coming over with like a hot knife and just, we'll just, cauterize that. You're fine.
Yeah.
No thanks. I'd rather go to the emergency room.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that the medical community is missing.
Yeah.
Right? There's all these practices that have been around
for thousands
ancient
and thousands
history
and thousands of years.
that have been working.
Yeah. Yeah, Western medicine is still very new. America's been around for not even 300 years. Like to Joe Rogan, he's like, people live to be 100 years. That's 3 people ago. Right? That's 3 people ago.
3 people ago.
So
3 grandmoms.
It's still so new. And that's why, like what you said, where it's like there are these ancient practices that have worked and continue to work. So it's like, and that's why I love Joe Dispenza, because he's able to bridge that gap between what he says Newtonian physics, which is like everything that's predictable that we kind of can know and predict, and we can back that up, back some of the more Eastern, more, woo-woo medical concepts with modern science, and he's done such a good job at like bridging that gap to actually have scientific evidence and tests and studies behind a lot of this stuff that is considered, ancient medicine, holistic medicine. And like what you were saying is...
Well, holistic means the whole body. Seeing the whole body as one, right? So when a person comes in and they're having stress-related, right? Because stress causes what? 90% of illness? Yeah. So when a person comes in and they're having a stress-related immune response, like what are you doing for them other than handing them a pill?
It's a Band-Aid.
It's not going to fix it, right? And my goal with you by the end of this relationship we have here is to get you to stop saying woo-woo.
I don't know another word for it.
I don't know, but I call myself a hippy-dippy weirdo, so maybe I'll stop doing that. Okay. If you stop saying woo-woo.
I don't have another word. What else would you call it?
The spiritual aspect of healing.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. Come up with something. Yeah. You're creative.
Okay.
You're the creator here.
Yeah, that is true. All right, I'll brainstorm. But that's,
because the difference between woo-woo, right, what I do every day, which I didn't believe in any of it until I did it, and I was like, oh, okay, this actually has some merit to it. Yeah. And what Joe Dispenza explains is just that, like, I can put science behind this, right? And there's science behind a lot of things that, I mean, the studies get stopped. There's a book by William Bankston called The Energy Cure. Ooh. And William Bankston does, and energy works kind of like Reiki, but not Reiki. I don't know if he like developed it himself, but basically they did all these studies with like lab mice where they were curing them of cancer just through intention of this energy work. Yeah. And the studies kept getting shut down. Why? Why are we shutting down the studies that aren't going to pay the pharmaceutical industry?
That's exactly why, because they're not going to pay the pharmaceutical.
This is why I got out of pharmacy in the first place.
If everybody wakes up to the understanding that nobody else, you have the power and ability to heal yourself of all illness and disease, that's billions and billions of dollars that somebody's not making. And that's
cancer industry.
That's unfortunate.
I mean, have you seen the documentary Heal?
No.
On Netflix? Okay.
No.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But so Heal talks about like a handful of people. I think one has like high blood pressure and one has diabetes and a couple people have cancer.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's a certain group of things that you can do to heal yourself. So typically diet change, like one person changed their diet to like all vegetarian or vegan. Another person changed all to keto, right? So every body type, and I've talked to like dietitians and nutritionists about this recently, every body type requires a different thing. So you can't prescribe like keto to everybody.
Right.
Everybody be on keto. Everybody be vegan.
Right.
Right. Certain people need certain things, but there's a certain set of things. So it's like diet, exercise, mindset, right?
Yeah.
Mindset is the biggest one. Like
Absolutely.
once people are like, I'm done. I have clients who come in with cancer, with lupus, with fibromyalgia that are like, I'm done being sick.
Good.
And I'm
I
like,
thought you were
okay.
going to say they're done with life.
And I'm like, okay, here's the thing. I don't cure anybody. I don't do curing.
Yeah.
I do healing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to heal?
Yeah.
And some of them have stopped some of their Western medicines. Not by my account, not because I told them to. I'm not a medical doctor. It's not my job to tell you what to stop.
Mm-hmm.
But they've found healing on their own to the point where they've gone back and had blood tests and like miraculous healing. Okay, well,
Yeah.
great. That was you healing you, right? And you showed up for the appointment. You showed up here with intention of fixing yourself. It wasn't me. I'm not I don't do voodoo. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe anything. I just sit there with them in that space.
Yeah.
Right? Because the power of manifestation, the power of the mind, right? If we're both thinking the same thing, we're going to heal through this.
Yeah. It's all energy. And like you said, the mindset. How often, most of the time, I go to the doctor. The doctor says, Eric, I'm sorry, but you have cancer. The average person is like, I have cancer. I have cancer.
I am cancer.
I am cancer. And they just reaffirm that, and they ingrain, now all of a sudden they have this belief and they keep reaffirming it, and they start living their life as if that's their new reality. And they trap themselves and create this new reality. And what do you think is going to happen? Of course, you're going to get worse. Of course, it's going to persist, you know? And if you are, that's why, again, like, as time goes on and science starts to back things up, I hate to keep bringing it back to Joe Dispenza, but I've been learning so much from him, and it's blowing my mind because people.
That's what it's meant to do.
In his book, Becoming Supernatural, the first chapter opens up with this woman who, because like you said a few minutes ago, if most disease, a lot of disease, and again, I'm not a doctor. Obviously,
not claiming to be a doctor myself.
No, and I'm just learning about this stuff, and I think it's fascinating, and I want to talk about it. But it's like most disease comes from hormones of stress because it downregulates your immune system, and then you're more susceptible to disease, and you can't really fight off illness because you're suppressing your immune system by these hormones of stress. And
the adrenal glands are directly functioning through the nervous system, telling them, right, to misfire. The pituitary gland has to tell the adrenal glands to misfire.
Wow.
The pituitary is told by the hypothalamus, which is like, I'm reading this book or listening to this book, Unfuck Your Brain, right now. I love it. I feel like the girl recorded it like in her basement. She's definitely a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but she's talking about it, and she's like, you know, the hypothalamus is like the coach of all the other glands and tells them all what to do. But like, okay, if that's in my brain and we know that there's neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. Thank you. I was like, I knew at some point words were going to escape me. Neurogenesis. There's this opportunity for our brain to heal, to shift, to change. Mm-hmm. So if you have that opportunity,
right,
what do you do with it?
But I agree 100%. So what he talks about in this book is this woman, her husband killed himself, and that started to lead to a ton of stress in her life because she was so stressed. And when something traumatic happens, or if something incredible happens, your subconscious, you snapshot those emotions, and that's a memory. And then if you if something incredibly stressful or traumatic happens, you continue to relive those experiences over and over again. It creates a pattern in your energetic states, if you will, with these hormones of stress. So this woman was constantly reliving the event of her husband killing himself, creating more stress, reaffirming these things. And it started to create all of this disease in her body. She started developing things like stomach ulcers and cancer and immune disease. And all of these things started manifesting in her life because of one stressful event that she just couldn't escape. She goes to see Dr. Joe, of course, and it's a happy ending. And she works through him and through breath work and his meditation practices. And, she's all good today. But
because we talked about this earlier, your ego, right, is trying to protect you.
Yeah.
So by going over that memory over and over and over again, it's almost like you're trying to, I find this with a lot of my clients too, you're trying to find something that you can control, right? But so chaos is like, all right, well, if I can't control what's going to happen next, I'll just focus on this thing that happened before and I'll just keep reliving it. And like, seeing the piece, like maybe I could have changed something. Maybe I could do something different.
Yes.
Right? So we live in that. And the memory, it's a false memory.
Yeah.
Because the memory that you have is of the last time you remembered it. It's not the
God.
original memory.
Right.
So there's all this like, fucked up stuff in there that's not actually, never even actually happened.
Right. They say it's 50% of our memory is horseshit. Like you remember things. I love what you just said. You remember it based on
unless you have a sibling that can verify your memory.
Right. Well, there's different kinds.
Shout out to my siblings who verify my memories.
There's different kinds of memories. And we were talking about this the other day where it was like, I can remember my uncle's house that he lived in when I was a little kid. Like I distinctly remember it. I don't think that I'm remembering it wrong because it's like a physical place. But if you try to remember like events or conversations or things that are more like emotional and abstract, I think that's where you can kind of like fill in the blanks. And it's kind of like a whisper down the lane thing where it's like every time you revisit it, it's like a little different until you get to a point where your memory of it is completely different to then exactly what happened because your ego wants to go back and control those things.
Absolutely. Well, in the trauma brain. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I've definitely find comfort in like going back and like reliving not traumatic things, but like beautiful things that have happened and great things that have happened where you go back and you just kind of relive them and it's like you're there and it's great. And then the same thing could be said about traumatic things where it's like when you go back and visit them, it brings them into this moment. So you can literally lay in bed and think about something that is a traumatic event or a stressful event and create more stress hormones in your body just laying there thinking of it than like actually
what would be happening if you moved on from that thought.
Right.
Well, and the trauma brain, right? So when your brain is in a traumatic state, when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, your prefrontal cortex like goes offline, right? We're using our old amygdala brain.
Yeah.
And so you're not actually like processing things, the rationalization, the logic that you normally have available to you is offline.
Yeah.
So the memory is distorted as well because you're working from that fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with my dad the other day, but it ties in. It's like, we were talking about like gun laws and stuff like that. And it's like, if you shoot somebody, if someone breaks in your house and you shoot somebody, never make a statement right after because you are in that fight or flight mode. Your brain, you're not even there. Like there's a part of you that's completely checked out because you're all these hormones, whether it be cortisol levels and your adrenaline, like all of that stuff is going. Like, of course, you're not going to be able to give like an accurate depiction or like breakdown of what actually happened. So it's like you got to get out of that mindset and get out of that energy before you can like give an accurate description or speak on things.
Well, that's why there's debriefing, right?
Yeah.
When somebody comes home from war, or when somebody comes home from even the fire department. My husband's a firefighter. Like when he comes home from the fire grounds, they sit and they kind of talk about it so that they're like, what actually happened here? What could we have done different? What's,
That's smart.
So but I also think that might add to, as we learn more about the brain and about memories and about this trauma function of the brain, it may add to like helping decriminalize certain things or to help people who are on trial for certain things because of that initial statement. That very first
like mushrooms
memory, like mushrooms.
Yeah, like mushrooms because of their ability to activate neurogenesis and help you regrow parts of your brain. No, it's powerful stuff, and it's.
I thought maybe we'd get through this whole podcast without talking about mushrooms.
So far, there has not been a single podcast where psychedelics don't at least peek into the conversation.
All right, well, we'll go there.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. And to go back to what you were saying earlier, it's like, why do they shut down these studies? And I think a part of it also is that it's scary. Like the unknown, it scares the shit out of a ton of people because we've been conditioned and programmed to believe this is how our universe works.
Meanwhile, let's all go get this unknown shot.
Right.
I was going to say, I feel like we need the alien one. It's safe and effective.
That's what I've heard.
But still just an emergency shot.
And if you get it, you can still get COVID.
Wait, what?
What?
You can still get and give COVID?
Yeah, crazy. But here's what.
And you get sick from it?
Here's what's crazy is that Aaron lost his taste and smell. Oh. And instead of being like, oh shit, I'm sick, I have COVID, he was like, no. I'm going to sit. I'm going to do breath work. I'm going to take my vitamins. I'm going to get my sunshine. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to take my elderberry syrup. And sure enough, in a few days, he was fine.
Dude, sea moss for me.
Sea moss.
I started sea moss.
Yeah.
Shout out to West Philly Tuck.
Sea
moss is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It is made in West Philly. Well, it's, he
that West Philly sea moss.
He does his thing in West Philly. I don't know where he gets the sea moss from, but it literally like knocked it out of me.
Yeah.
And everyone in my jiu-jitsu studio that got sick, like afterward, I was like, you guys want sea moss? Who wants sea moss? And the people who took sea moss were like, whoa, what is this magic? It's like, well, one, it's healthy, right? You're putting something healthy in your body. And two, you're focused on, I'm not going to stay here in this illness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So if you are sick and someone asks, how you feeling? Don't be like, I'm sick, but no. I'm getting better every day.
Yes.
It's just that little.
I am focus forward in the positive.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we teach.
Me
and Joe Dispenza.
Some of the two most powerful words in the universe are I am.
Yeah.
Because whatever follows is exactly what you are. I am healing. I am getting better every day.
So I joined a company a couple weeks ago, and I'm working with a girl that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I knew her since I was 12. And I said, the only thing that I'm not okay with is if somebody tries to micromanage me, because I'm my own boss in all of my business. Like, I don't want to be micromanaged. If there's ever like a place where I get hired and they try to like tell me what to do, I'm just like, I can't work for you. Like, I have to be who I am authentically.
Yeah.
So I said that to her. And within a week, I had somebody in the business like messaging me like, hey, I want to tell you how to do all these. And I was like, whoa. And then I got on the horn with a girl that I'm in the business with. And I was like, it's cool because I manifested this.
Yes.
And she's like, wait, what? And I was like, and the universe knew I needed it now. I said it last week. I didn't want it. And the universe heard like, all right, we got to get this out of the way. Yeah. And so it came and I moved through it and I did it with grace.
Yeah.
I was super nice to this person, even though she tried to micromanage me. I was like, thank you so much. You're amazing. If I need you, I'll call you. Like, I just like, like I killed her with kindness, but I did it better than I did the last time. But I also recognized that it was my own doing. Yeah. Right. Sometimes you ask the universe, like, if I say I got to pee, I got to pee immediately.
The universe doesn't know the difference between good and bad. It just knows what is. And whatever you're putting focus on, you're more than likely to attract that in your life. So you weren't focusing on not getting micromanaged. You were just focusing on the idea of getting micromanaged. So the universe is like, okay, let's
I thought about it.
You thought about it.
Yeah.
You put energy to it. You probably put some powerful energy into it because obviously it's something you're passionate about.
It's happened to me before.
Don't micromanage me. And you're like sending powerful energy to that. So it's like, okay, well, let's give it to her because like that's what she put out. So we're gonna. The universe is a mirror. Where energy goes, energy flows. So it makes sense that would come back to you.
I adore hanging out with this 24-year-old boy who burps and farts and just walks around being a 24-year-old boy.
Drinking that coffee's got me.
I'm just sweaty from the coffee.
Yeah.
Like, woo. Or maybe it's the lights.
Lights, cameras. I was gonna say something. Oh, like just to touch on. I hate to keep going back, but like the reason people shut this shit down and these studies down is one. I keep thinking of this quote that comes up in one of the first paragraphs of the Gateway Process document that I have from the CIA that basically just talks about if you can increase the vibrational frequency of your left and right brain hemispheres, get into theta brainwave state. You can like essentially leave your body, time and space. And one of the first paragraphs says is that most people will reject this information because it goes against everything that they hold to be true about how the universe works around them. And I think the same can be said about these breakthroughs in medical science, where it's like people spend their entire lives, scientists and doctors spend their whole lives researching and studying and implementing these things, and then all of a sudden some dude like Joe Dispenza or Wim Hof comes around and just completely knocks that entire tower down. Actually, you can be doing it this way, and it's way more effective, and it's cheaper, if not free. Well, that is a huge thorn
in the medical community.
In the medical, so that's because
sure.
It goes against everything that they hold up, right, to be true.
People have to be ready, right? So, like, when all of this COVID stuff started, you know, everybody wanted everyone else to be just as afraid as they were. I was one of them. I was like, everybody needs to be afraid. Stay in the damn house. Don't go anywhere.
I wore gloves when I went to Target.
I didn't go to Target. I started ordering my groceries online, which, by the way, I love, and I'll never stop now.
Yeah, we just started doing that.
But, like, my husband broke his foot at work, and he was out. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I don't want you near those COVID people, right? Yeah. And I stayed like that for, like, a month.
Yep.
And everybody else was so afraid. And then I was like, I went down to Graffiti Pier in Philly.
Love
Have you
that
been
place.
there?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I thought they closed it down.
You just climb. I don't know.
You climb over.
That.
It's closed until you hop over the barrier.
Pretty sure there's a sign that says no trespassing, but like no one listens.
Yeah.
But so there was like a sign outside of it that was like the way that they can control you is through fear, and I was like,
100%.
You know, like 100%. Such a shocking thing. But so the fear that everybody was in, right, of COVID to start with. It's interesting how like people have shifted to this like. They want to get this vaccine. They want everybody to get this vaccine, but they're like, the fear is like, I'm as afraid of getting a experimental vaccine as they were of catching COVID.
Yeah.
But I caught COVID.
Yeah.
And I got through COVID. And so maybe my perspective is different because I know I didn't infect anybody else.
Right.
Like I did like I tracked myself and called everybody and checked in with everyone, and no one else was sick, and I stayed in. I did what I was supposed to do, but I definitely think that like the fear, like what is the fear that you're deciding to choose to live through, right?
Yes,
what is the limiting belief? My limiting belief is like is it a limiting belief? My belief is that I don't need a vaccine, an experimental vaccine at that, right?
Right.
At this point, because I've already lived through the experience of having the virus.
And it wasn't even that bad.
It wasn't that bad. And if there's effects that are long-term that are going to come to me later, same with Lyme disease.
Yeah.
I'm going to battle through it, right? Holistically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work through those things in the best way that I know how. And like, if I end up dead, then it's over. Then I don't have anything to worry about. So...
There's only one way off the ride.
Right?
Everyone's going to die.
We all have to live, and I got to live my life this year.
Yeah.
Like, I stayed in that fear state for a good month, didn't leave, and then one of my friends was like, are you living in expansion or contraction? Like, you are, like, suffering here.
Yep.
My mental health was on the brink.
Yeah.
I was not good. Yeah. Like, I was at that really low place again. And that's not who I am.
No.
And I was like, why am I here? Why am I suffering? And I was like, oh, I'm doing this to myself because I'm letting other people influence my choices.
Yeah, they're poisoning the well with the fear. I definitely felt that fear. And one of the things that I realized, and it's because I heard somebody say it, and they said it so perfectly where it was like, okay, let's just paint an archetype of a person. And if this is you, sorry. But those kind of people probably aren't watching this, so it's okay. You're somebody who watches the news religiously. You think that the government, Big Daddy, is here to protect you and love you and keep you safe, and they have your best interest at heart.
None of that.
But those are actual people, and that the vaccine, right? Shocker. The vaccine is the cure, is the end all be all to this problem we've been facing for the last year. There are people who think that, and those people are very afraid and I'm sure frustrated and angry. And when you're living in that vibration, it's really easy to control and manipulate you, because you're looking for any kind of peace of mind, any kind of fix, anything to make this go away, whatever you need. You need me to take the vaccine? Okay, I'll do it. Like, because it'll make me, it'll you're more easy to control because you're living in this low vibration. And that's scary because that's like majority. I went to the airport.
We have to have compassion for those people,
You
right?
absolutely do, because they just don't know any. They're not there. That's the state of consciousness that they're vibrating on. So you can't even expect them to maybe be able to hold a conversation like this, because they just don't know any better. That's just the state of consciousness they're vibrating at, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But that just is what it is.
When we were going to Antigua, we were in line in the airport.
Yeah.
And my husband like came back from the bathroom and like walked up behind this guy, and the guy turned around and was like 6 feet,
Oh my
right?
God.
And my husband was like, "We're about to be in a tube
Yeah.
where like you sit right next to me, like
you're coughing
and
and
all
farting.
these other people."
That's so funny.
And like you're really yelling at me, guy.
Yeah.
And
he has 2 masks on and one of the visors, one of the face shields.
And then
Crazy.
there's a nurse in line that's like, "Well, he has a point about this guy who like yelled at my husband."
Defending that guy?
And she's like, "I'm a nurse." And he was like, "I picked up a 400-pound COVID patient 2 weeks ago, and I didn't get COVID." So like,
Yeah.
I mean, we got COVID later on from the firehouse, but he was like you, like, "I'm exposed to this just as much as you are, Miss Nurse Lady. Like, I'm with people who have COVID every day. Like, I got my test. We all had to get a test to get on this plane. Why is he yelling 6 feet at me?
Yeah.
And we're about to be in this tube together where there's no 6 feet. Like, there were no spaces in between us on that flight.
And flights are packed now.
Yeah.
Flights are packed again. But that guy is very afraid. He's living in this
So why are you going to Antigua?
Because flights are cheap.
Stay home. It was not cheap.
No.
They canceled my flight because I had a flight into Canada, like a connecting flight into Canada.
Sure.
Why would you go north to go south? But whatever. That's how my flight went.
Yeah.
It was the cheapest available back when I booked it in February of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then March 2020 comes. They're like, "No, you're not coming to Canada. You can fly out of Canada. You just can't fly in. No, thank you. Please refund my money."
Yeah.
But like, I had to repay for a flight a couple weeks before my trip. So it wasn't cheap for me at all.
Mm.
And I'm paying to be here. I'm about to get in this tube with you. Like, don't give me an attitude, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's a way for you to be like, "Hey, like, I have boundaries, whatever." But he like turn around. I think he used some foul language. And my husband was like, "Oh, well, that's going to trigger me.
What a
So
scoundrel.
here comes my fear. I'm going to yell at you."
Yeah. But
And I'm like, "Oh, the yelling."
this is what's crazy is that, look, it was a hard year last year for a lot of people. So I understand why people might have been a little bit more angrier than they usually are. I get that. But again, it's like there's so many people that just live in that state of fear and frustration and anxiety and stress. And I think another thing that's happening, and it's a symptom of the last year we've had, is we are so disconnected, and we forget that we're all one family. We're all brothers and sisters here. We're team human.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not white versus black or USA versus
So I'm
Russia.
not really team human. I'm more like team Earth. I wish she
Right.
would just get rid of us
Sure.
all and just
Right.
like just knock them all out,
Right.
and then she can replenish herself. She's gonna heal when we're gone.
Yeah, the Earth's gonna keep going. But you get what
But
I'm
you
saying.
can be team human,
It's
sure.
team people, team Earth.
No, I don't think people are team human. I think people are so divided right now.
Exactly. That's my point. It's like
Yeah.
we forget that we're all one team, and whether it's,
And it's interesting that there's values underneath of like, right? So we both have the same value. Our value is like, we care about people. Like, we don't want people to die from COVID. I know you.
Yeah.
You know me. I don't want anybody to die, especially on my account, right?
Right.
I was very cautious
Yeah.
when I had COVID.
yeah,
I didn't leave. Like, I told the people that came to my door, like, you can't come here, you know? But the value underneath, I think we all have that same set of values. We just have a different way to get to it.
yeah.
You know, like, we care about humans. So I don't want people to get an experimental drug, put into their body because I used to work in pharmacy, and I recognize that experimental drugs are not always the best scenario. Right? There's like people dying. There's people like, I know a guy who was paralyzed from the neck down.
There you go.
Right after his COVID shot. I know a nurse. I was sitting with her as she answered a call for her best friend's dad who had a pulmonary embolism right after his COVID shot. So it's like, you know, like team human.
Yeah.
I care about people. And so I don't want people getting this unless they really feel like it's necessary to get it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's necessary. I
don't either. But what's crazy about what's happening now is because we're so divided in all these different things, whether it be religion or race or economic status or political views, now there's a new way to divide us, and that's vaccinated and not vaccinated. And that's just another way for people to be upset with each other and try to compare each other and be triggered and like try to have this hierarchical thing where it's like we're all on the same fucking team. Really, it should be us versus them in the majority of people versus the small amount of people who control almost every aspect of our lives, where we get our food, where we get our gas, paying our electric and our, like, that's who, if there are teams, it should be us versus them. But obviously that's where revolutions start. And there's a revolution starting. It's going on. It's a consciousness evolution, but
feels uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable. I mean, if that's what we signed up for, right? That's that. And I look at my time, and it's 33% battery. Anyway, angel number.
Oh, I was like, are we dying?
No.
Are we dead yet?
But that's another crazy thing is like it's last year was such a powerful year in just trying to get us separated even more, because again, it's easier to control us.
Well, and that's why I don't judge anybody.
There's 300 million people in this country.
I don't judge anybody that got the vaccine. If you feel like it's protecting you and you feel like you need to get it for your nan or your grandma or your kid or whatever, like, I'm all for it, right? And if you don't want to hang out with me because I'm not vaccinated, I'm also for that.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to see you, not because I don't value you as a person, but because I want to respect your boundaries.
Yeah.
I care about you and love you enough that if you are living in that space of this is what makes you feel safe, I want to make you feel safe.
Yeah.
So I'm real honest with people when I come near them. Like, I did a sauna at Float the other day with a girl who's been very adamant about masks, very adamant, like, she got the vaccine, like, she works in a rehab center. And I was like, she's like, are you going to take your mask off in the sauna? And I was like, I am. And I want you to know, here's my history for the past 2 weeks.
Stop. Hold on. This woman wore a mask in the sauna.
No, she didn't. But she's been very, very cautious about. So she was like, I'm vaccinated. And I was like, if that makes you feel safe, I'll take my mask off too. I would have worn my mask for her in the sauna, because that's how much I love people. And I don't care if you're in a really difficult space.
Wrong button. That's the one I wanted to hit.
Aww,
it's beautiful.
I am magical.
Yeah.
I love people.
Yeah.
And I want to love you where you are. So if you're stuck there, or maybe that's what makes you feel safe, right? I want you to make me feel safe.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I want to make you feel safe?
It's like, just like you said, you're respecting them for where they're at consciously. If you feel great, or if you feel better that you got the shot or you didn't get, wherever you are, I want to support that. Yeah. And we don't have to fight. It doesn't have to be a fight.
It's just as simple as, it's the same as like asking someone like, hey, would you put a condom on?
Yeah.
This is important to me.
Yeah.
I care about my body and my health. I'd like you to wear a condom. I don't know where you've been.
Yeah.
So if somebody's like, hey, I'd like you to wear a mask in front of me, I'm all for it.
Sure.
I'm all for, like, yes, I will make you feel protected, because if we're getting down,
you're
putting on a condom, so I'll put on my mask.
But you can't really compare condoms and masks, because particles still get through the masks no matter what.
Particles can still get through the condoms, too. That's how HPV and herpes happen.
Okay.
I mean, that's not how they happen. It's a viral load, and your body just picks it up. But it can happen with condoms, right? So
yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, I have family who, you know,
they're only 99% effective, right?
Sure.
So
that's what the box says.
That's what the box says.
But
what does the box of masks say? Because I don't know that there's been any effective studies.
No.
From what I
listen, it's just comply. It's just comply.
Yes.
Don't be an asshole. comply. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask when I have to go to the gym.
Do you want to wear a condom?
That depends. There's a lot of factors for that. That's why I said I don't think you can compare them very well. But if I'm wearing my fucking regular, like...
I mean, if you didn't have to worry about STDs, would you ever wear a condom? Or pregnancy, would you ever wear a condom?
Probably not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like it is a good comparison.
So, okay, so let's so if you are then incredibly healthy and you take your vitamins and you get your vitamin D and you sunlight and you exercise and you take care of yourself and you're mental, do you have to wear a mask? Would you like to wear a mask? No, but it's like now it's like a societal thing where it's like if you don't wear a mask, you're an asshole.
Except in Florida.
That's the beautiful thing. Some parts of Texas, but even in Texas, people still got masks on. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and it's been disconnecting us even more, and it's been separating us even more, and it hurts because I love people and I want to be around people. I want to hug people and shake their hand and see their face when I'm talking to them, and I really am looking forward to the day when we can get back to, the normal.
I gotta be honest. I kind of liked this new opportunity of like. And not because I want to be divided by people, but because like I get to see where people are. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting for me, like, right, we're in this room together. I don't know if this is 6. This is not 6 feet.
No, it's like 3 feet.
And we have probably been closer than this.
Yeah.
Since COVID.
Yeah.
And we're not wearing masks. And I don't have a fear with you.
Right.
Right. Mm-mm. But like, you're part of my tribe. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like there's people in my tribe who I'm getting more connected with. And then there's people who used to be in my tribe who are still of a different mindset, who I just have to navigate that differently. But
sure.
it softened me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because initially I was afraid. And then I went into, like, screw everybody in this stupid mask and this stupid social distancing, and I'm just going to hug everybody because I was like losing my mind. And if I didn't start hugging people, I was going to like off myself. Like literally, I don't make light of that. It was bad.
Yeah.
I was not okay.
Oh, a lot of people got to that place.
Because I actually know more people personally that have attempted or committed suicide in the past year than I do actual people that I know.
Yeah.
I've heard of people who have died of COVID, but I don't know as many people that have died of COVID. And that's, I work in mental health, so obviously I have a higher rate of people with mental health struggles. Sure. But some of them were like, family friends, that it's been a difficult year.
It has been.
And so I definitely think that it's softened me. I think that it's given me the opportunity to like be with people where they're at. And because I noticed like the mask on mask, vaccine on vaccine, some of the people are like really judgy of the other side. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like I've gotten less judgmental this year.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is where I'm meeting you here.
Yeah.
I'm like Jesus now. Yeah. This year has made me like Jesus.
Yeah, just forgiveness.
I'll
and
just
love
be where you are.
And openness.
And then I'll just walk in this way. Mm-hmm. And you can choose to follow.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
Either way, it's all good. There's power behind that. And it's unfortunate about those people that knew who had to go down that path, but there's something to be said. We are social creatures and we need to be around each other and interact and hug each other and shake hands and talk and being close. Like that's part of being a person. And that's why I loved being in Florida a few weeks ago, because it was like everything was cool. I went to a workout class. There was a ton of people there. We're all high-fiving, and it's like, yeah, like this is great. We need that.
There's little nuggets of places that happens here.
Yeah.
It's just like on the DL.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get shut down.
Speakeasies.
Yeah.
But like you said, like you and I are together. We're here now and we're talking. There's so much. But like I'm also not afraid of COVID. Yeah. I take care of myself. I take my vitamins. I exercise. Like I'm not afraid of. I have bigger things, bigger fish to fry. And I've seen people get COVID. My mom has the antibodies, which means I probably had it at some point too. I don't recall, but I'm not afraid of it. And I'm not, because I'm not living in this state of fear. I'm okay with hanging out and not really being worried about masks. Because, like, again, I understand there's levels to what's actually going on. If I'm out in public and I go to Target, all right, I'll put my mask on. But, like, other than that, I'm not worried about it. I have a friend who, she's, you know, part of our tribe, and she's like on this newfound spiritual journey the last year or so, and her dad is a doctor, and he's like throwing this thing. He's like, if you don't get vaccinated, he's like, I don't want you coming around here. I don't want you seeing your grandparent. Like, I don't want you. And it's unfortunate because like he is a doctor, and you would think that like as a doctor, as a man of science, and a man who wants to help people and heal people, knowing that this is very experimental and very new, maybe be a little bit more loose with it, maybe a little more understanding, give it a little more time. But it's just an unfortunate position that she's put in because she does not want to get it. She takes care of herself. She's very healthy. She's young. She's fit. She eats very well. And it's just like an unfortunate position that she's been put in. I hope she can get through it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm on a medication for narcolepsy, and my pulmonologist said to me, I wanted to switch medications. And the new medication only has 3 different ingredients. Not sodium, to decrease the sodium in the content of the drug.
Okay.
The new medication has calcium, magnesium, and potassium to decrease the sodium. So like things you have in your food, things you can literally buy on the CVS banana shelf, right?
Wow.
So like,
and it's $40 a bottle.
So I'm like, I'm thinking about switching this med. It's been researched for 3 years. It's been on the market for a year. And he's like, I don't think that's a great idea. I think we should wait and see.
Okay. For what?
For a little while. Meanwhile, I go back to him 6 months later, and he's like, are you getting the vaccine? And I'm like, you just told me not to get a drug that's been studied for years and has literally like nothing really different in the new medication because you want to see how it works for other people. And you want me to get this brand new drug
that's very interesting.
That like is experimental and hasn't proven anything to us yet. Right. And like, that's where I think I really get frustrated because this whole silencing of the medical community that's opposed to the vaccine or like, hey, COVID is a virus, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Like they're being silenced. And so if there wasn't such divide in the medical community, if every single medical scientist person was all on board, this is the worst thing ever, we all need a vaccine, I would be, sign me up.
Yeah.
Because everybody agrees, right? And maybe that's, you know, a little bit passive of me, but I'd be way more willing to do it if if everybody was in an agreement.
Right. If COVID was like cancer, everybody would be getting the vaccine, because that's the thing. It's like most people who were, and I do want to move on because people are listening. Sorry, we've been talking about COVID for so long, but
let's
like most of the people who have gotten sick and died and it's been really bad for are overweight and they're unhealthy and they're immune compromised. So for those people,
comorbidity.
For those people, I understand.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. But like, we're healthy and we're going to keep on keeping on. And hopefully we can get back to there's no way we're going back to normal because there is no.
But maybe this opens up mindset.
Oh, I think so.
Maybe this is the thing, right, that we needed to see.
Yeah.
Because we're in the age of Aquarius.
Ooh.
Maybe this is the thing that we needed to move forward.
I think so, 100%.
Right? So I talk a lot to my clients about when they like get stuck in a place. I'm like, listen, I get it. 9/11 was horrible, right?
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from 9/11. It was an awful day.
Yeah.
But if there wasn't a 9/11, there wouldn't have been a 9/12 and a 9/13. Where flights were literally grounded in Canada and Canadians were calling the airlines saying, send a family to my house. I know there's no more hotels. Like I read an article about it and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So many people came together after that horrific event. Maybe this is the thing that we need. And I'm not saying like, yay, COVID. I'm not for it. I'm just saying like, we need something that's going to push us forward.
Yeah.
We constantly as humans need something to challenge us, to help us
evolve.
Step into our evolution. Yes. Yep. Onwards.
You're absolutely right. And I think that last year definitely was a catalyst. If you look at, do you have TikTok? You don't have TikTok, do you?
No.
Okay.
I'm old,
Listen,
Eric.
hey, I love TikTok, and I have learned so much from it. And what's that?
I have Moldavite.
Well, there you go. I have Moldavite too, and I learned about it from TikTok.
For like 10 years.
Really? Damn. So you've been
and all the kids are jealous.
You've been on the wave. Okay. So, but
I couldn't wear it when I first got it. So beware, children. Moldavite is definitely strong.
You should get it. Go buy some.
Don't get it because TikTok said so.
No.
Shit will hit the fan.
But in the most beautiful way.
In the most beautiful way, yes, because things have to fall apart to come together, right?
Yes.
A caterpillar has to go into a chrysalis and literally become like mucus.
Oh, yeah. I looked it up. The entire body of the caterpillar chemically breaks down.
Before it can evolve.
If nothing changed, there'd be no butterflies.
That's right.
About that. Aww. But no, you're absolutely right. I think that last year, so many people threw things in platforms like TikTok where the algorithm, if you look at my TikTok, it's just fucking people talking about crystals and yoga and all this spiritual stuff. Okay? So many people woke up last year. And it's so amazing to see. And I think it was part of the beauty that comes out of the COVID is one of the things is we realize what's important.
Yeah.
Family, friends, people who are close, health, wellness, all of these things are important and they should be, as they should be. Mindset, right? So all of these beautiful things came out of it. So I think it is like the catalyst to push us into this new age. And it is interesting how it all unfolded last year, and there is no going. We weren't even. People say, "Oh, this is the new normal." There was no normal in the first place.
No, it was what was typical.
It was what was typical. It was what was expected, and it is beautiful to see. We're kind of. It's like the dark night of the soul for the entire planet.
Yep. That
we're coming out of, and I do think that things are going to start to get better. I can't not think that. I'm an optimist. I'm team people. I want everyone to start to come back, and we're all going to be friends again, and we can hang out and see each other and hug, and no one's going to be afraid of catching the germ or whatever. But I agree. I think this is what we needed to kind of elevate us and push us and catapult us into this new age of being and existing in the world. And it's real beautiful to witness it and to be a part of it as well.
Other than just like the crystals and the spiritual stuff, like what do you see the evolution looking like as we move forward?
Well, I think that psychedelics are going to play a huge role in it. I think that they can become, either decriminalized or legal so that people can start using them as tools to expand their consciousness and understand and grasp and accept concepts like your thoughts create your reality. You're more powerful than you think. You can heal yourself. Everything is consciousness. You are God. Everything is God. I think that is very valuable. That's a very valuable perspective to have during this human experience because you walk around in a constant state of amazement. So I think.
Do you think that mushrooms?
I think all
psychedelics are for everyone?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not. If you're a paranoid schizophrenic, don't eat LSD.
So I know someone who is now a paranoid schizophrenic
because of
after taking something. Sure. I don't think the story ever really came out, but like taking something in a foreign country. So as much as I support that, I know people who have like found themselves in a pool of their own drool and figured their life out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Or became one with the sheets.
Sure.
And, didn't know where they ended and the sheets began.
Yeah.
And figured out the shit that they needed to figure out or bypassed the limiting belief that was keeping them stuck. I know plenty of people like that.
Yeah.
But I also know people who really did not do well with psychedelics.
Me too.
So as much as I do think that it would be beneficial for them to be legalized, I also, and I feel the same way about marijuana, right? Like marijuana makes me paranoid. So it's not like I struggle with that. Like there's plenty of people who it helps their anxiety. For me, like my anxiety goes from 0 to 10. So like, is it worth it? And you have to kind of know yourself. And I don't think that everybody is in tune with themselves enough to be able to say like, this is not for me.
Yes.
So
I agree.
Maybe some regulation?
It has to be regulated. I was going to say that. But I also think it's a matter of, as a grown, sovereign being on this planet, you should have the ability to make the decision, do I want to try these psychedelics or do I not? You should be able to have that freedom, and it should be there if you want to do it. And then if you do decide to do it, it should be regulated where there's a place you can go or a center you can go.
Ooh, and be guided.
And be guided.
Yes.
There's a place you're in.
And a limit to it, right?
Absolutely, a limit.
As an adult human being, like, you're making that choice, but like, if you go take way too much, like this person did, or whatever you take, it might be laced with something and you don't know, and it screws up your brain chemistry. Yep. Now your mom's got to wipe your ass for the rest of your life, or like chase you in and out of jail, or like deal with you in the mental institution. Like, is that really something you want to put on somebody else because you're an adult and you get to make decisions for yourself? And that's why I think, like, for as much as I don't love big government, I also think that like certain regulations, rules need to be.
Yes.
Right? Rules are there to be like protective.
I agree.
Of our fear state, which is, my fear is that everybody's going to become crazy.
It has to be regulated. There has to be places where you can go, professionals can help guide you and dose you out correctly, and maybe do like a survey or some kind of medical background to understand if you're predisposed to certain things. It has to be regulated, but we're getting there. But I do think that psychedelics are going to play a huge role in this new evolution. Just because of what they've done for me and people close to me, and they've helped me so much, and their incredible potential to heal and bring us closer and to understand. That's what one of the things that they helped me realize is like, we're all one. Everything is one. You, me, the trees, and Dexter, we're all the same stuff. And like, how could you have any hate in your heart for anybody else if you understand that I am you and you are me? That's one thing, and that's very productive. That's a very productive realization to have. But I also know people who have done acid once, and they had a horrible time, and they'll never do it again. And that's unfortunate, but maybe that's exactly what they needed. Maybe it's karmic. Who knows?
And maybe something else came out of that they're not even aware of yet.
Yeah, because I think that this whole idea of like a bad trip, like, ooh, bad trip, they're challenging trips. And no matter what happens...
You need labels.
I do. I've been saying that every episode. I'll always hit the wrong button at least once.
I'm going to be your Jamie, and I'm going to get you labels, and I'm going to look things up for you, because I just can't. And you're not going to say woo-woo, and we're ending this the way I said so.
Okay, that works.
Why am I trying to control your podcast? Because I can't control my own life. So.
Stop projecting on me, Roxanne. But the bad trip, the scary idea of the bad trip, no. They're challenging. You always get through, and then once you get out of it and you can look back, you're going to look back. Ask my brothers. The challenging trips that they've had, the scary trips, those experiences are probably going to be some of the most important experiences of their life, because through those challenges, whatever it was, obviously you always come out of it. Aaron's one bad trip was so powerful that the date of the bad trip is the password to his phone. That's how powerful that day was for him.
Wow.
And it was a bad trip. It was a scary trip. It was challenging. But
thank you for that information.
It's
I'm totally going to sell all his data to China.
Well, we got to get the date first.
I'm going to go ask him what the date was. He's not going to know we had this conversation until this is uploaded. So I'm here now.
Right.
Unless he's meditating for 5 hours and then.
Yeah. Going to miss him.
But, did I ever tell you the story about the spiders?
Maybe. Tell me.
So I was always like afraid of drugs as a kid, because I actually had two friends who split a ecstasy pill. One died, one lived.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's on top
crazy.
of that, my dad would tell me, like, people make drugs in their bathtub that they never clean. And I was like, and my dad is in recovery. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say, I don't think my dad would mind. My dad's pretty well known in the recovery community. But he would tell me about like drugs. And I don't know if he didn't have that conversation with everyone, but like for me, it was like very powerful.
Yeah.
It stuck. So I was always afraid of drugs. When I turned 33, I was having this like really emotional time and like trying to break through it. And somebody had mentioned mushrooms, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll try this.
I think you did tell me this, but
continue. For a therapeutic reason. And I made sure to have a guide that I knew would like help me.
Yeah.
So somebody who I knew I felt safe with and would watch me. So I went downstairs to put the comforter in the dryer before I started tripping.
Right. Yes.
And saw this tiny spider. Fear of spiders my whole life, like irrational. I run away. My shoulders tense up. I look like a lunatic when I see a spider. So I was like, I'm going to make friends with this spider. We're going to be cool. I go down the stairs. I'm like, I saw this spider. I'm telling my guide person, like, I saw this spider. It's amazing. We're going to be friends. I'm going to get over my spider. I like named him. I come upstairs, I get like water or whatever I needed to go down there and like trip and be with this spider. And this giant wolf spider is on a different wall in my base. And I like run upstairs and I'm like, you need to go kill this spider. And my guy was like, dude, you just said you were like gonna like be friends with this spider. Now you want me to kill it? And I'm like, it's a different spider. Like there was no like breaking through that fear in that moment. But later on, after that, like I recognized, like that's just a fear that I like put on this little creature, right? Yeah. Like I love butterflies. I've held butterflies. I could hold a grasshopper. I have literally been in Puerto Rico where a flying cockroach landed on my plate and I just was told, eat around it.
Eat around it.
Like this is what we do here.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of any of it. But like I've put this fear on the spider.
Yeah.
So now when I see spiders, thank God for that trip, right? Like maybe that seems stupid for some people, but it definitely moved me beyond this irrational fear. Yeah. So now as long as the spider doesn't like jump out at me, like there's one in the corner of my bathtub and I'm like, oh, hey, just, like I wash one side of my face and the other side so I can make sure he stays there. I'm like, cool, we're cool.
Yeah.
You stay in your space. Stay in my space. I know you're doing a job up there. You're just trying to live your best life. Eating the bugs in my bathroom.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Making webs.
Right?
Doing what spiders do.
This fear was something that I put all this weight on.
You created it.
And through that opportunity, I was able to move out of it. But like, I mean, maybe that's not huge for some people, but I don't run like a chicken anymore when I see a spider. So
no, that's definitely powerful.
Except that wolf spider.
So then the argument is, if you never had that trip and that experience, would you still be incredibly afraid of spiders?
Oh, I mean, I've literally like left the house.
So it helped you
with my baby like in his crib. Like
I'm
leaving.
Good luck.
Somebody better come get this spider. I'm not going back in there until the spider's dead. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Bad parent.
That's beautiful. No, but that's. It helped you, and it
absolutely did.
It helped you get over your fear. It helped you realize some things, and now you can walk around a better version of Roxanne, an improved and evolved version.
But I think also, not just the spider thing, but like I definitely think that now that I've done it, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the coming down off of it. I don't like, like my whole chest gets red. I feel like I'm literally poisoned. Yeah. It's not my thing.
Yeah, everyone has a different reaction. I get headaches at the end.
So I'm just not, I feel nauseous the whole time. I'm just like, this is not for me, right? I don't want to do it. I'm totally open to guiding other people, just don't want to do it myself.
Sure.
But I think that just working through that fear of the spiders has actually helped me look at other fears in my life with a more open mind, right? Because now, because of that one time that I worked through a fear during a trip, I'm able to be in my space today and be like, oh, okay, I see this thing. There's a fear showing up here. How do I manage this? Do I need to manage it? Do I need to stay in this fear space, right? So maybe that's what helped me get out of the fear of COVID. I mean, I literally didn't leave my house for a month, and I yelled at anybody if they tried to like walk into the yard. No one in my house was allowed in the yard. Like you weren't allowed out. Stay the hell in.
So what helped you?
It's helped me look at all of my fear.
But not attached to it. You observe it. You don't necessarily attach to it right away. And then because you're not attached to it, you're able to see it when it comes up, recognize it. Thank you. I'm not going to attach myself. And then you're able to just kind of move on. I'm
definitely more of a witness.
Yes.
From that experience than I've ever been in my life. I can look at myself in reflection today. I was always a person. I mean, I grew up in an environment where, blame everybody else for your problem. And, like, well, I did this because you did that, right? Cause and effect. And today I'm like, oh, I was in that situation and this showed up. How did I manage that? Yeah. Did I do well?
Yeah.
How could I do better? Right? Like that manifestation of that woman who wanted to micromanage me. I did so much better this time around than I did in the past because I'm able to look at myself. What part am I having in this? I really think that trip gave me that opportunity to look at myself differently.
I love that.
To look at the world differently.
And I think more people need that. And
don't need to do it again.
Don't need to do it again. But just that once. Just the once.
Don't want to do it again.
Just that one experience. changed your entire life and how you look at things. And I think that if everybody was able to have that experience, we'd have a much better, more beautiful, more harmonious society and world. For sure. We need that. Onwards, baby.
All right. Well, I guess everybody needs access to these things. Yeah. All right.
So hopefully we get there.
We can talk about it.
But we should wrap this up, Roxanne. The camera's going to die soon. This was awesome.
We're always subject to the timing of that camera.
I know. It's okay. I'm working on it. I'm going to get a dummy battery so it doesn't die. We can have 4-hour podcast next time if you want.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
Roxanne, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This was awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Roxanne will definitely be back because I feel like we have more to talk about. Thank you, Roxanne. Love you.
Thank you, Eric. Love you too.
Thanks
for being part of my tribe.
Oh, my pleasure. High five. Keep on keeping on, folks. Onwards.
Onwards.
Over and out.